The views and opinions throughout KZI's broadcast day are not necessarily the views or opinions of KZI's board, staff, underwriters, or volunteers.
Welcome to ZUMBI, a monthly conversation with artists, activists, and scholars whose work is influenced by the richness of Black life in Austin and around the world. Your host is writer and community curator Stephanie L. Lane.
Right. Well, good morning, KZI listeners. Again, this is ZUMBI, named after Afro-Brazilian freedom fighter Zumbi dos Palmares. And as always, I am your host, Stephanie Lane. And with me, always making it happen, is DJ Slice.
How you doing?
Good. It's good to hear your voice.
Good to hear you too.
Absolutely. I've been on a little hiatus for December and January, but we're excited.
We missed you. We're glad you're back. We missed you.
Thank you. It's good to be missed. And we're on a new platform now, so We're fancy. So I won't waste any more time and talk about today's exciting guest, because you know DJ Slice always bring it, right?
Yep, always.
Absolutely. So today what we're doing is we're continuing our spotlight on staff, students, and faculty at the University of Texas whose research or focus efforts is centered around the Black community. And so our guest today is no exception. I want to welcome Deseré Crossword to ZUMBI. Hey.
Hey, Stephanie, DJ Slice, happy to be here.
Yay, glad to have you. So before we get into our conversation, I want to let folks know a little bit more about you. So Deseré Crossword is a post-secondary education professional focused on building community and a sense of belonging for Black faculty, staff, and students at historically white institutions. Originally from Southbury, North Carolina, Deseré received 2 bachelor degrees, one in journalism and the other in organizational communication from the University of North Carolina, UNC at Chapel Hill. All right. Currently, Deseré is a social media strategist in the president's office at the University of Texas at Austin and is earning her master's in the program of higher education leadership in UT's College of Education. In addition to working in the president's office and studying higher education policy and leadership, Deseré serves on UT's Black Faculty and Staff Association executive team. All right, big up BFS, as co-president-elect. All right, congratulations. Deseré's life motto stems from her favorite quote by Mahatma Gandhi: "Be the change you wish to see in the world." She exemplifies this motto by dedicating her time to serving in roles that allow her to become the change she seeks. And yes to that. I'm like nodding my head. Yes. So again, really welcome. And what I like to do on the show is just kind of start by having our guests share a little bit about the journey to the work that they're doing. So, you know, your dedication to helping to create community for faculty, staff, students in predominantly white universities. Like, what brought you to that journey, to that work?
Yeah. So it takes me back to my junior year of high school, actually. My junior year of high school, I was invited to a program at UNC Chapel Hill for minority students who were high achieving. And so it was like a recruitment effort for them. So I went to that program, and when I got there, I was just surrounded by peers that looked like me and who were on my intellectual level. And I was like, yes, like finally, like I feel like I belong in a space, right? So that really was a moment in my life that stood out to me, where I had a sense of belonging. And I remember how much that sense of belonging was important to in my decision to attend UNC Chapel Hill. And so I just remember that, and that memory is what brought me to my program that I'm in right now, studying higher ed leadership and policy. My focus is on how do we create a sense of belonging for Black faculty, staff, and students on campus, because I know how that sense of belonging impacted my experience on a historically white institution. So how can I create that same experience, that same sense of belonging for Black folks at historically white institutions? So that's how I arrived to the work that I do. That's why I love BFSA, because they help to create that sense of belonging on campus. That's why I am in the midst of planning State of Black UT, which is February 10th through the 12th, because I noticed that we're on campus, Black people are on campus, but because it's so big, we don't really know each other and we don't know about the work that we're doing. So the State of Black UT is just an effort to bring us all together, talk about the work, where we've been, where we're going, where we want to be, and kind of combine those efforts.
All right. Well, let's talk more about both of those then, starting with the Black Faculty and Staff Association. For folks that are not aware, that's a long history, right, of BFSA. So will you share some of that history, some of the work that you all are doing currently?
Yeah. Didn't think you was gonna put me on the spot about the history of BFSA, but I'll try.
It's a brief history.
Brief history. BFSA has had quite the history. It's stemmed back, like we say that it was incorporated not incorporated, but it started in 92. But I know there was like versions of that before the early 90s. And what I've learned about the history of BFSA is that it'll start and then there'll be a hiatus because we can't find leaders to keep it going. But I've been really proud of the work that we've been able to do. I would say in the past, so I've been at UT for 4 years, and in the past 4 years, I've seen BFSA grow and groom leaders, and I think that it's going to be around for a while this time. But historically, the purpose has been to build community on campus, to also be a voice for Black faculty and staff. So if there's an issue, we are kind of like that middle person between the administration and the faculty and staff that we serve.
And I know I have been in and out of BFSA and have always had really positive experiences. And just thinking about what you just said, for many folks new to Austin, that has been the only kind of connection to community, that people have had. So really can't say enough about it. And I've noticed through your kind of administration, if you will, how have you all pivoted with everything that's happening with COVID and making sure that, folks still feel this sense of community, still addressing issues that are relevant to, Black faculty and staff?
Yeah, great question. So like most people during this pandemic, our pivot has been online. So we have moved our monthly meetings. We meet monthly with our members, and we've moved those to Zoom. We also have this thing called Teams. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Office Teams, but like we have a team called BFSA where our Black faculty and staff is kind of like a direct messaging that we can do with each other. And so that helps to maintain that communication with each other that's a little bit more frequent. And then like we have our newsletter. We've had that before COVID, but I think our newsletter is serving a much bigger role in keeping people connected to campus. We share announcements, we share events, we share opportunities that are happening. So the combination of just utilizing a new platform like Teams to message each other more frequently, being online with Zoom, and then really upping our game with social media and connecting with people there in our newsletter. I think that we've done a good job with keeping people connected during this time.
Absolutely. I would definitely attest to that. So my last question connected to BFSA is because you mentioned like the history of BFSA, right? And there are folks who are members who are, kind of representing different generations, maybe have different kind of perspectives on, the focus and kind of even how to engage people. How do you all navigate that as an executive board and making sure everybody's voice is heard? And, as well, we are not a monolith, obviously. Like there's a lot of challenges with that. So kind of how do you all navigate that?
Stephanie, you got some good questions for me this morning. That bridging generations with each other is so important. It's so important to maintaining the history of our people. It's so important of continuing things that people have done, have started in the past. And I would say that is a challenge that we face as an organization. Like right now, our executive team, I would say, I don't know, I ain't been asking people like what their age is, but I would say all of us is under 35. And so I recognize the challenge in that as far as making sure that we're not only appealing to that millennial generation, but also the generations that came before us. And so this year, when we're recruiting for our executive team, I know one of my top priorities is making sure that we're reaching out to some people, like a variety, people in different generations, so that we can have that representation of different generations and their voice on the executive team. I know that like me personally as a leader, like I've really, I focus on making sure that I connect with old BFSA leaders, hitting them up, asking them about questions and getting their input. And that's been really helpful to understand, okay, where we've been, what have been some challenges in the past. Like, oh, you had problems getting faculty involved with the organization. We still have that problem. What are some things that you did to address that? And then because we don't have like a diverse, a diverse perspective as it pertains to generations on our executive team. One thing that we have done this year is been very intentional about surveying our members so that we can get their feedback. And it's not just like the executive team operating in a vacuum.
Okay, absolutely. So I think this is a wonderful time to transition into the state of Black UT. But one way I think we can do that is a question that really pertains to BFSA and the state of Black UT. And that is around, we're on KZI. So some people may have questions about why we're having this conversation. It's really focused on the Black community in UT, right? And I know, for example, that BFSA in the past has really worked to make sure that Black folks at UT are aware of the history of Austin, are interacting with community in Austin, being really part of that, not just kind of connected to UT, but making sure that they are really connected and invested in the community. So in your opinion, like, why would you say that it's really important for folks, Black people and people, period, outside of UT to be aware of what's happening with us?
Yeah, like I would say, like, so it's already hard to find a sense of community on campus where you work, right? But then we live in Austin, which is also like very white. And so like, yes, we spend like 8 to 10 hours of our day on campus. Before COVID we did, but we're working in this space 8 to 10 hours of our day. But then we also have a life outside of UT. And so it's so important to be connected, not only to the Black community on campus, but off campus. Because if you don't feel connected in the place that you're living in, then that's gonna affect potentially how you feel about your work. And so maybe like if you're living in Austin, you're not feeling connected to that city, you may want to move because you haven't found your community there. And so like not only do we want Black folks on UT's campus to find a community on campus, but also in Austin, because we know that that's going to help with keeping them at UT.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I forget sometimes that we are on the radio because I'm just nodding. Yes. Testifying. Tell it. All right.
And that's why, and that's why I was excited that you invited me to be on the show, because we don't want to just have this conversation about the state of Black UT in this bubble, because there's so many collaborations that happen off campus inside of the community. And so I really wanted to let the Black community know, hey, this event is happening and we would love for you to join, because there's something powerful that happens when people come together from different areas and learn about each other's experience.
That is so true. And let's get into it more then. So 10th and 12th of February, 3-day event, State of Black UT. Can you tell us more about the event, why it's happening, some of the organizations and folks that are involved?
Yeah. So State of Black UT was an idea that I had this summer. And it really was, I was reflecting on the past 4 years I've been at UT. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, there's so many great things happening on this campus, so much work that people are doing. And I'm not quite sure how much people know about that work. And so I wanted to create a space where we could come together as a community, share the work that we're doing, but not only the work that we're doing, but the challenges. There's a healing that comes from just sharing your story and sharing issues and challenges that you're going through. But not only did I want us to talk about those challenges, I wanted for us to talk about, okay, how do we address this, or how are we addressing this, and how can we work together on these things that already exist instead of reinventing the wheel. So that's the purpose of the event, is to bring the community together, focus on the Black community at UT, and really talk about where we've been, where are we now, and where are we headed. So as you mentioned, it's a 3-day event, February 10th through the 12th. On the first day, each day has a different theme. So on that first day, the theme is Memory Lane. And so the event starts from 1 to 5. It's virtual. You can tune in live via YouTube or Facebook for the Warfield Center. So the Warfield Center at UT, their Facebook and their Facebook and YouTube, it'll be live there. So second day is reality check. That's the theme. And so we're looking at, okay, where are we currently? And then the third day is pave it forward. So after we go to break, I'll go into a little bit more detail about those 3 days, who we have coming, and what we're going to address.
All right. And you need to be my co-host. I love how you kind of wrap that in. All right. We are going on a quick break, and we will be back.
This is Cheryl Cole, Texas State House of Representative for House District 46. I'm here to urge you to take the COVID-19 vaccine. This problem has plagued our community more than others. That is the communities of people of color. We know that we are impacted disproportionately compared to the rest of American citizens in our fight to maintain against this disease. I want to encourage you to get the vaccine to make yourself safe and your loved ones safe. Again, this is Cheryl Cole, House District 46. Thank you.
Make it hot.
KAZI.
Make it hot.
88.7.
Don't stop.
All right. And we are back with ZUMBI and my guest, Deseré Cross-Ward, who is talking about the upcoming event, State of Black UT, that's happening on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of February, virtually. And before the break, we're just talking about the importance of this event, why it's happening, and the different themes, right, for the different days. So I wanted you to continue telling us that.
Yeah, for sure. So again, that first day is memory lane. So we're taking the time to go down memory lane, look at where we've been, because our past oftentimes informs our present. And so we are so honored to be welcoming some of our precursors. Those are the first Black students to step foot on campus in 1956. They'll be coming to talk to us on a panel about not only their experience, but also their activism and where they saw their student activism lead, because there's so many things that we have on campus because of those precursors and students that came before us that we get to enjoy today. For example, the MLK March that happens every year, that was started by UT students and their activism. So we really want to take the opportunity to look at where we've been and talk to our precursors about the past. And then after that, we're going to be looking at Black faculty staff recruitment, retainment, and activism. We talk about student activism a lot, but there's also some faculty and staff activism that has led to some really great changes on campus. And so we're excited to welcome Ms. Brenda Burt back to campus to talk about that faculty and staff activism, as well as have Dr. Ted Gordon and Venta Brown come talk about faculty staff recruitment and retainment. Just give us an update as a community where we are there. And then we'll end day one looking back and ahead about Black student enrollment. So the Black student enrollment rate at UT has been extremely low over the past years, and it's had very slow increase. And so right now we're a little over 5%. For a long time, it was at 4%. And so we have some people from admissions coming to talk to us about that Black student enrollment rate and like some new initiatives that they are doing to increase that. So that's day one that we have.
Oh, wow. That's day one.
That's just day one, y'all. That's just day one. Day two, the theme for day two is a reality check. So it's like, okay, we know where we've been. Where are we now? This is where we are now. And so I'm really excited about day two. It's because we're going to have first we're going to hear an update on the D&I, so the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that the UT administration announced last summer. So July 2020, there was a letter that went out from President Hartzell about some new initiatives that the campus was going to start in order to create a more inclusive campus. So we're going to have the president of UT come give us an update on those initiatives, as well as the VP of DDCE, so the division of diversity and community engagement. And it's also that conversation is also going to feature Dara Brazell, who is our CFO. And then the rest of the day, there's going to be 3 different panels. We're going to have a panel for students, a panel for faculty, and a panel for staff. And the purpose of that is just for them to have a conversation about those challenges that they face on campus. How are they overcoming those challenges? And then what are initiatives that exist to address those challenges? So that's day 2. And then day three is the last day, and the theme is pay it forward. So we know where we've been as a community. We know where we currently stand as a community. And so that third day is going to be spent looking ahead. Okay, what is on the horizon as far as projects and initiatives that our Black faculty, staff, and students are working on in order to create a more inclusive campus. So I'm really excited to hear some of those presentations. We have the Black, Queer, and Trans Collective coming to talk about, it's a new group, brand new. It was either late last year or at the beginning. Yeah, it was late last year they started. And so I'm really excited to have them come speak about how they are going to create a more inclusive campus for our queer and trans Black community. We have Yvonne Taylor coming to speak about this center. There's a new center that she is working on creating for Black women. And this is a project that is being funded by the ACC grant, which is a grant that was introduced by the provost office last year at UT to fund different ideas that our faculty, staff, and students have about how to create a more diverse campus. So I'm excited to hear what that project is about. And then lastly, we have our students. We have our students coming to talk about the UT Black Senate, which is a new group that they are trying to form. And so they're just going to come and talk about what their vision is for the Black Senate. I believe that it is focused on this idea of bringing us all together, all the Black organizations on campus, to form this Senate so that we can create some synergy between our efforts because we're stronger together. And then we're going to end day 3 with a keynote from Dr. Peniel Joseph, who is the who is the founding director of the Center for Race and Democracy. He's a professor over in the LBJ school. And so that is the state of Black UT. It is jam-packed with a whole bunch of different discussions. Again, day 1 is February 10th. That's going to be 1 to 5. It's virtual. You can tune in live via the Warfield Center's YouTube and Facebook page. Day 2, that's going to be on February 11th. That's also 1 to 5 p.m. Central Time. And then day 3 is going to be Friday, February 12th. And that is going to be 11 to 1:30 p.m.
Whew, and that is wonderful, all of it. And folks who aren't able to tune in on those days, there will be a way for people to access later, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we understand that a lot of our students will be in class. A lot of people will be working during that time. So everything will be available after the event online to view.
So yeah, this sounds amazing. You have some wonderful programs and heavy hitters involved. Kudos to you and all of the folks involved in putting this on and making it happen. And it's so beautiful to, me being able to attend one of the meetings and see really students are so involved, and staff and faculty, which is so important. So just really congratulations to everyone. And again, people should access the Warfield Center page. Is that correct too?
Yeah, the Warfield Center's Facebook page and YouTube. So you just Google Warfield Center Facebook. Perfect. It'll be the first thing that pop up. Same thing with YouTube.
Okay. Wonderful. This was great. So glad having you on.
Thank you. Can I give a few shout outs?
Do your shout outs.
I want to give a shout out to my planning committee, Shalia, Christina, and Justice. Like, I'm just so grateful for the planning committee. All of them work with the Black Studies Collective at UT, and so I'm grateful for them. And I'm grateful for the extended committee as well that Stephanie is serving on to just all our students, faculty, and staff. Hey, you gave us this platform to speak about State of Black UT, so. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out all the people who have contributed to this, because this definitely wasn't a one-woman effort, and so I'm just grateful. I'm very grateful for my team.
Absolutely, and I know they're all grateful for you as well. And yes, again, thank you so much for being on the show. Our guest again was Deseré, and I am Stephanie Lang. And until next time, y'all be gentle with yourselves.
You've been listening to ZUMBI with host Stephanie L. Lang on KAZI 88.7, The Voice of Austin. ZUMBI is brought to you with support from the John L. Warfield Center for African and African American Studies and the Center for Community Engagement, two vibrant cultural institutions at the University of Texas at Austin. The views and opinions expressed on ZUMBI may not reflect those of KAZI or the University of Texas at Austin.